It's the fastest, most unpredictable speedway on Earth.
Iron made this place. Mined, smelted, forged. And every spring, we gather round and celebrate. Iron sharpening iron.
Oh, he gets tattooed!
But in order to take it all home, you need nerves of steel. The big one is back. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you from our studios in Tuscaloosa as we'll be taking a look at what's coming up later tonight in Los Angeles, California. But we start our show by taking a look at everything coming up on the program thanks to our friends at RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us a smart board to go through everything on the show, plus our headlines for today. Speaking of LA, Chris Stewart is back in Los Angeles. He's getting ready to call Alabama in the Sweet 16 later tonight against North Carolina. We'll get his take on the first two wins for the Crimson Tide in the big dance and what needs to happen tonight against the Tar Heels. Then we'll be talking Alabama baseball with Riley Quick, a great pitcher for the Crimson Tide who unfortunately only made one start this year before his season was shut down due to injury, but we talk about that plus his love for the Crimson Tide in a few moments. Then we'll be heading out to the football practice field. Nick Sheridan, the offensive coordinator of the Crimson Tide, he met with the media earlier in the week. We have coach's checklist coming up with him, getting his thoughts on this Crimson Tide offense. Right now, Crimson Tide basketball, the best offensive team in the country, and we really saw that in the first round against Charleston. 109-96 was the final score as Alabama once again over 100 points in the game this season. In the second round, much less scoring for the Crimson Tide, but we saw great defense, especially closing out the game against Grand Canyon on a 17-2 run, holding them without a point in the last few minutes to secure that victory in Spokane. With that, the Crimson Tide moving on to the Sweet 16 for now the third time in the last 4 years, and tonight's matchup against the number 1 seed in the West region, North Carolina. It should be a thrilling game coming up. Our radio start time will be 7:30 across the network, 8:30 p.m. Central will be the tip-off coming up from Los Angeles, hoping for a huge win for the Crimson Tide to try and move on to what would be the program's second Elite Eight. Move over to Crimson Tide baseball. Last weekend, it was a quick series against Georgia in a way. There was a doubleheader on Saturday due to rain. Alabama swept in that doubleheader, also lost in the Sunday game. So it was a tough weekend for the Crimson Tide, going 0-3 against Georgia. This week, the Crimson Tide started the time on the road earlier this week on Tuesday in Madison, Alabama, the outskirts of Huntsville, at the home of the Rocket City Trash Pandas for the second straight year. And Alabama once again a winner in that ballpark, 6-3 the final score against Belmont. The huge home run hit by T.J. McCants in that game. Now this weekend, it's a Thursday through Saturday series at the Joe as Alabama welcomes in South Carolina. Crimson Tide ranked 15th in the country, South Carolina number 10. So it's just another great home series coming up for Alabama against South Carolina. How about the Crimson Tide softball team? Last weekend stepped out of conference play to take on a very good Virginia Tech team. It was a top 15 showdown. Alabama went 1-1 against the Hokies. Now this weekend, returning to SEC play, also with a Thursday through Saturday series at Kentucky. Crimson Tide currently ranks number 13 in the nation, so hoping for some more wins for the Crimson Tide against the Wildcats. How about gymnastics? Second place finish at the SEC Championships just behind LSU, and Alabama earned a spot in the Ann Arbor NCAA Regionals, so best of luck to the Crimson Tide coming up next week in Michigan. Women's basketball team picked up a first-round victory against Florida State, ultimately fell to Texas in the second round, but still reaching the round of 32 for the second time in the last 4 years, a great step forward for this program. We've been seeing the results coming in first from the women's side, and now this week the men's team competing at the swimming and diving NCAA Championships in Indianapolis. And of course, football spring practice continues. More details have been released on RollTide.com about the Golden Flake A-Day game coming up on April 13th. So a lot to look forward to around Crimson Tide athletics, especially with basketball tonight. The Crimson Tide in the Sweet 16 taking on the North Carolina Tar Heels. And for a full preview of that game, plus a look back at what's been an incredible season for the Crimson Tide, we check in with the radio voice of Crimson Tide basketball, Chris Stewart.
Chris, Roll Tide, it's great to see you. It's great still on March 27th and 28th to be talking about Alabama basketball in the Big Dance. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, man. And it is better. It is better to talk about it in the present than the past tense. And it's a little odd. I've seen all these memories that have popped up in the last couple of weeks about things that have happened in the past for Alabama basketball, and you realize they kind of pushed the calendar back a little bit. So, things that were, the Elite Eight took place actually almost a week ago. It seems like just the way the basketball calendar has been pushed now. So a little bit odd, but man, it would be nice to be playing deep into April instead of that first weekend in April when the tournament gets here, or the Final Four gets here. That's what Bama's put themselves in position for. You win, you get to the Sweet 16, and now you get a chance to take on another one of the classic names in college athletics in North Carolina.
Certainly excited for Thursday night in the Sweet 16 against the Tar Heels. Let's go back a few weeks for this Crimson Tide basketball team, leading into that Tennessee game with really the SEC championship on the line. Obviously, a disappointing loss that night to Tennessee, disappointing after that against Florida, and then even after the Arkansas win, a first-round exit in the SEC tournament. How'd you see Nate Oates and this basketball team really reset and put together two good performances last week in Spokane?
I think losing's never good. So I don't want to gloss over the fact that you didn't get the job done in Nashville and lost to Florida, and things were kind of low at that point. But they had an option. They could say, okay, we're pretty much done. We're going to just ride this out, and yeah, we're going to be in the tournament, but we're ready to move on. Clearly, that wasn't the case for this team. They took the extra time they unfortunately created for themselves by losing on a Friday to use a couple of days to rest up, to heal up, and then go back to work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to get better. Now, part of that did include a travel day for the team as well, but getting west, getting acclimated there in Spokane, going to work and making sure they took the fight to Charleston pretty early in that game. They were down, I think, the first or second media timeout, but from that point forward, this team was in control of that ball game, and it was nice to see them do that at that level. Shot it incredibly well, which I know gives them tremendous confidence. But I thought just as big was to come back against Grand Canyon, and on a time or in a game when they did not get shots to go as well, as frequently as they had against Charleston, to get it done on the defensive end and to be so good there, and especially late, to just be so locked down that they did not allow Grand Canyon to score in the last 4 minutes of that ball game. Just really excited to see them play there, and obviously hopeful they can match that defensive effort with a little bit more of what we saw against Charleston in the game against the Tar Heels, and it could be a special night.
Again, North Carolina, the opponent coming up on Thursday in the Sweet 16. Just what have you learned so far about Hoover Davis and his team?
They are accustomed to being there, and I think their situation is kind of similar to Bama's. They lose it early in their conference tournament and turn around and get themselves refocused rather quickly, and have put themselves in a spot where they're excited to be playing. And RJ Davis, really talented. We've seen Baycott for a while now in the post. He's kind of a rarity, a big that will play as long and stay in college as long as he has. But he's a tough factor inside, and Alabama's struggled against quality bigs, but that's again where I think the experience they've gained by playing a schedule as tough as they have is going to be a major help to them in this tournament, and in this particular matchup against UNC. There's they've played the big names, they've played the big men, but everybody you face from now on, is of the highest quality and playing with confidence as well. So there's no reason Alabama shouldn't be the same way and play with confidence, and hopefully play at a very high level, which will allow them to advance to an Elite Eight for the only second time in school history.
And all throughout this season, we've seen special performances out of Mark Sears. And honestly, maybe it seems like we're not talking about him enough. Just how much has he
Yeah.
impacted this basketball team? How much will he be relied on in the Sweet 16?
Yeah, Roger, I'm guilty of that because we almost take it for granted during the games. And I said on another interview earlier that, I'll catch myself in the post game sometimes doing, um, you know, running through guys and their performances, and I'll mention 3 or 4 guys and then finally get around to saying, "Oh, yeah, by the way, Mark Sears 26 tonight," just because we almost take it for granted. He's so good night in and night out that 20 is the norm. It's not the exception. So um, it's a it's a very special season that he's having, and obviously, without the Muscle Shoals native doing what he's done, Alabama's not having the season that they've had.
So it's special for the Crimson Tide to get back in this position, back in the Sweet 16, third time in the last 4 years, as you mentioned. It's been 20 years since the last Elite Eight run. You were on the call for that one along with Brian Passink. Talk to me about Brian for just a second. Let you brag on Brian Passink for a moment, and
Yeah.
hopefully he won't see this. But I mean, you
Yeah,
guys have
exactly.
had such great chemistry all throughout the years, going back to the early 2000s. Now here you are in the Nate Oates era. Just how special is your relationship with Brian? What's he meant to you, and how much fun you guys have on the air with Tom Stipe?
Well, I've said it many times. Brian's been a friend for a while, but Brian's like a brother to me. Uh, and a lot of that is the time we spend, working on the broadcast. But a lot of it has to do with how Brian looked after me when I was sick and had my health problems 4.5 years ago, and how he was, by my side through that and afterwards, and uh, great to both me and my family, and we'll never be able to repay that. Um, so grateful to him, but it's so much fun, and it's really different. Um, as you know, Tyler White's I've worked with on pay-per-view broadcasts with football before. We did high school games for more than 15 years together before we worked in the present role that we do now on the Alabama football broadcast. So there's familiarity with Tyler, but I even called his games when he was in high school. So I've known of him literally since he was a kid. Brian, I saw play in college, but I didn't know Brian until we started working together. We may have met, I don't remember, but I didn't know Brian until he joined our broadcast crew as the bench reporter. My second year of doing play by play, he did a half season that year that turned out to be the Elite Eight year, and then the next season he did a full year as the bench reporter, and then the following year is when he started doing color. So we've worked together for a long time, and we try to tell the story as professionally as we can, but we're also friends, and sometimes that comes out. It's not just the fist bumps that Facebook Live has I guess shown us that we do, because we had no idea that we did that until we started actually seeing film of ourselves. But also, um, when he says stuff, the stupid things that happen with friends sitting and watching a game. He says the other night, he's talking about the game itself and the depth advantage that Alabama has, more players that see playing time than Grand Canyon, but it's late in the game. It's a crucial time. And he makes the statement, Chris, Alabama's got a deep team. Grand Canyon's not deep. And I said, yes, it is. I've seen it. And, just stupid stuff that I couldn't drop that on just anybody. But for whatever reason, good or bad, I felt like I could. And he handled it. He goes, be clear. The Grand Canyon is deep, Chris. Grand Canyon is not. Now, fair enough. So just it's special to have that relationship with somebody you work with.
Yeah, it really is. And hopefully more fist bumps, more great memories ahead for you guys coming up in Los Angeles this week. And then hopefully on after that to the Final Four in the National Championship game. But Chris, thank you so much for your time with us here today on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. All the best to you guys and safe travels for what's coming next for the Crimson Tide. But hopefully more great basketball ahead. Thank you for your time. Roll Tide.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you.
Like, you know me, my head would have just been on the table if you dropped that in baseball. NASCAR is returning to one of its most iconic tracks. Don't miss out on NASCAR's much anticipated return to Talladega Superspeedway for the Geico 500 on April 21st. Experience the excitement of four-wide racing as the stars of NASCAR take on the biggest and baddest track. Between the iconic Talladega camping and the unparalleled access to the Talladega Garage experience, there is something for everyone to enjoy. Lock in your tickets today at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. We go from basketball to baseball here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, as we're excited for Alabama to be at home this weekend, Thursday through Saturday against South Carolina. And going into this season, we're really excited to see Riley Quick, a sophomore from Trussville, on the mound for the Crimson Tide. But unfortunately, his season cut short due to injury. First of all, Riley, roll Tide. I know it's been a tough start to the season for you with the injury and the surgery, but how are you still helping your teammates even though you're sidelined for the rest of the spring?
Yeah, it has. It's obviously been tough start to the season for sure, just with everything I went through at the start. But my teammates have helped me out a lot, being behind me and everything. And I've also been trying to get involved more, just like just doing a game chart here and there, and like sitting with Coach Vaughn during the game, and like watching them play, and just hearing what he says, and like just picking up cues off like what he says and what JJ says, and then just learning more and more about the game that I can.
Well, again, we'll talk about the injury and everything that's coming up for you in a few moments. I do want to talk, though, about something Rob Vaughn said to me right before opening day. He said, he's the most Alabama guy I've ever been around when talking about you. Have you always loved the Crimson Tide?
Yes, sir. I have. I've been a big Bama fan for a while now. My brother played football here for 3 years, so I've been cheering on the Tide for a while for sure.
Favorite football game you've ever attended?
Um, I think in like middle school or something, me and my parents and my brother went to watch Alabama play Florida State in Atlanta, and they're both like pretty high ranked teams, and Alabama kind of stomped them, and that was a good game.
It really was. What was it like getting to see your brother make that transition? You knew he was a great high school player, but then for him to get to suit up for the Crimson Tide, what did that mean to you and your family?
It was awesome, man. Just seeing him like achieve his goals that he's worked so hard for. It was really cool just to watch that all happen, and just see him like actually out there on the field and in a uniform and stuff. It was really cool.
How competitive were you two growing up?
We were pretty competitive. We only really got to go against each other in practice for like a year though, and he would take it easy on me sometimes, but he gave it to me sometimes for sure.
Did you enjoy playing football? Could you have seen yourself sticking with football down the road?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. It was really fun. I missed it sometimes, but I definitely think I made the right decision playing baseball.
Yeah, when did it kind of dawn on you that baseball might be the right path for you?
Around my junior summer when I committed here for baseball, I kind of was just like, okay, like this is my thing. Like I probably need to stick to this.
Well, it was really huge news when you signed with the Crimson Tide. Also, Alton Davis, the second out of Hueytown, signed. Both of you in that really talented class. So, did you face off against AD at all during your high school
I did
days or even
not.
summer ball?
No, I didn't. I didn't. That would have been a fun matchup there for sure. He's a great pitcher.
It really was. Anybody else on the roster you saw during your high school playing career?
I think like me and Austin Morris played against each other. He played for Mortimer Jordan, and we had a really good game one time. I threw against them, and I think he might have been throwing against us, and it was like a 1-0 game or something like that. It was a really good game.
Well, you make the decision again to sign with the University of Alabama. What was it like kind of learning about the transition to college baseball? You're mostly out of the bullpen a season ago. How'd you feel about your freshman year?
The transition to college baseball was definitely a huge thing. Just getting used to like all the guys and stuff, and being around them every day, all day. And I thought I had like an okay freshman season. I kind of needed to clean up a few things mechanical wise. I dropped my arm a little bit, started chasing some sink, but I think we went to work on that and I cleaned it up well. And then I was looking good and got an injury, but now I'll just get better from there.
Last year's team was really special for a lot of reasons. For me, always it starts with the veteran leadership that was on this Alabama team. Who were some of those veterans that helped welcome you to the team and kind of show you the ropes of what it's all about being a college baseball player?
Two veterans that definitely helped me like right when I got on campus. We came in the summer, most of us did, and Jake Leger and Garrett McMillan were here, and they would throw with us every day and kind of just like show us like how to go through like your pre-throw dynamic, like your correctives and all that kind of good stuff. But like Jim Jarvis and Antoine John, like they helped me out a lot too. Those guys were definitely good mentors for me as well.
How good was that changeup of GMAX?
Oh, it was very good. It's dynamite for sure.
He, of course, had a lot of great starts for the Crimson Tide a year ago. Jacob McNary also was a grinded
Yes.
out style pitcher as a starter. Did you learn a lot from him?
Yes, sir, for sure. Because we kind of pitch the same, kind of like he's a sinker, changeup, slider guy, and that's what I was. So just being able to watch him throw last year and like the way that he would go attack hitters, like kind of gives me a way that I can attack hitters as well.
Well, it was a really special season again that ended in a super regional for the Crimson Tide. Jason Jackson was not only your pitching coach, but finished out the year as the interim head coach. And then we get the news that Rob Vaughn's hired as the head coach, but JJ stays on as the pitching coach. How important was that for to make sure you stayed with Alabama for your sophomore year?
It was definitely really important. JJ's my guy. He's helped me out a lot, and I couldn't really see myself anywhere without him.
What was it like getting no Coach Vaughn and then Coach Papio and Morrison coming in and Mikey White?
It was awesome, man. Those guys are awesome. I love playing for them. I love just being around those guys every day. Once I met them in the summer, I was here rehabbing. I just knew like those are my kind of guys, and we were gonna click good.
Well, you mentioned you're getting ready for this season. What were some of the main teaching points JJ had for you in the fall and in the winter leading up to opening day?
One of me and JJ's like main point was like just like be a professional about everything you do, like just in your catch play, like throwing a bullpen on the mound, like don't get mad about the small things, like just be a professional about everything, like go about your business good. Like JJ's really good with that stuff. Like once we got the mechanic stuff figured out, it was more of just be a professional, like go about your business every day on the field and just get it done.
How much do you enjoy working with your catcher, Matt Cassetti?
I love working with Mac, man. He's a really good guy behind the plate. He's really good vocal. He's a great guy to have thrown to.
So much excitement for the start of the season for the Crimson Tide opening weekend against Manhattan. We got to see Ben Hess on Friday. We got to see you on Saturday. How'd you feel during that start? Was it in that start against the Jaspers you started to feel that elbow discomfort?
Yes, sir, it was. But I mean, I felt good leading up to it. I felt really good, and going out there was awesome, man. And yeah, I felt it in my third inning. But I mean, it is what it is. It happens. But it was awesome being able to go out there and getting to watch Ben every weekend is awesome as well.
How painful was it? Was there ever part of you that felt like maybe I can keep trying to throw a few more pitches, or did you knew right away this is something you couldn't pitch with?
It was pretty painful. It happened, and then there was another. I threw to the last batter and ended up getting a double play. But it was a pretty painful thing. It just kind of felt weird more than anything. I don't know how to really explain it.
And then when you talk about it with Sean Strike, your athletic trainer, what were the next steps after that that ultimately led to surgery?
So right after that, we went into the training room and we did some checks on it and everything, and we thought it could just be like a little muscle strain or something like that. But Sean, he's really good at his job. He does a great job with these kind of things. He got me in there Monday for an MRI, and then that very next day I was having surgery. So it all went really really smooth and really quick. It was good that it went quick, but that's pretty much it.
Really nice physically that it goes quick. You're able to get surgery so quickly to start the recovery process. How about emotionally, though? I mean, learning that your sophomore season comes to a close after only a few innings on the mound. How'd you kind of manage all those emotions with that?
I mean, it was tough at first for sure. It was a gut punch, just not being able to go out there and compete every weekend with my guys. That was what really did it most for me. But I mean, it was just a thing that I knew I had to overcome, and me and Sean talked about it. We were like, all right, like I can be sad until like surgery, and then after surgery, like it's time to get after it. Like it's time to go right to rehab. And Sean and Coach Price and JJ and Coach Vaughn and all those guys, they keep me really in a good like mental state of all that stuff. Cause I mean, I'm going to be back next year, obviously, but it's good to have them around me, keeping my head straight.
Any teammates you really relied on during that time, especially guys that maybe have had Tommy John surgery before?
One of actually my former teammates, he now plays at Houston, but Antoine, we had the same surgery, and he's one of my really good buddies, and he's helped me out a lot through this, just how to go about the process and all that kind of stuff. And it's tough sometimes, but you got to just be there and get better every day.
It's been over a month since the surgery. What's that last month been like for you? Are you starting to do anything close baseball activities? Is the arm still pretty
The last
bandaged up?
month's actually been kind of crazy. Like the first 3 weeks, you're like, am I ever gonna be able to bend my arm again? And then you hit like week 4 and you're fully bending it. Like today, I got out of my brace at therapy for good. Like I'll just have to wear it in the dugout and stuff now. But it's a journey, man. And no, I haven't really gotten much baseball stuff. I'll get there in probably June, picking up a baseball again and stuff like that.
Well, again, you've been really active in the Crimson Tide dugout. Just how do you hope to keep impacting this team moving forward?
I just hope that I can keep everybody positive and just cheer on my team and help out as much as I can in the dugout and just keep these guys positive because we got a really good team. We got a chance to do something special.
You really do. A great start to the season in non-conference play, and then you started SEC play against Tennessee. Got the win, got to smoke a few victory cigars afterwards. I imagine that was a lot of fun for you.
Was for sure. It was a great time doing that.
Well, we can't wait for the Crimson Tide to be back at the Joe coming up this weekend against South Carolina. Just as we let you go, we know you're going to be helping out this team as much as you can, but what do you feel like this group is capable of down the stretch in SEC play?
This group is capable of a lot of things, man. We got to come together, and we will, and we are. We're a very close team, but we just got to put all the pieces together. And I honestly think we can do something really special here.
We look forward to it. Riley Quick, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck on the road to recovery. Can't wait to see you pitching for the Crimson Tide again down the road. But thank you. Roll Tide.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Roll Tide.
Iron made this place. But in order to take it all home, you need nerves of steel. The big one is back. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Really appreciate the time. Riley Quick, all the best to him in his recovery. Can't wait to see him on the mound once again in the future for the Crimson Tide. Baseball underway today, starting its series against South Carolina. And all the while that all these spring sports are going on, don't forget about football, as they've been busy working on the Thomas Street practice fields, getting ready for the Golden Flake A-Day game on April 13th. Coming up later today, Kalen DeBoer will meet with the media in a press conference. But earlier in the week,
I think they're getting better every day. You talk about being a young player, especially at the line of scrimmage. There's a lot to learn mentally, physically. Great kids, hardworking. Coach Cap's pouring into them, so they get better and better each and every day. No, I think you're always monitoring the level of execution with really, the two groups that you're always paying very close attention to is the offensive line and the quarterbacks. Making sure that they're understanding the scheme, the communication systems, techniques, fundamentals, and that's, when those two positions know exactly what they're doing, I think the other positions can play fast and confident as well. So, we need 11 guys to execute at a high level each and every snap. There's no one position that not on offense. You can't have 10 guys doing the right thing and one not. And so, we've poured a lot on them. We're asking them to absorb a lot of information, but we know over time, that'll pay off for us.
You've got a lot of numbers at the quarterback position. How's that battle for the number two sort of sorting out?
They're competing. Yeah, I think that's a really talented group and great kids. And I'm excited about the group. I think there's some young players that are very talented, and they're getting better as well. For all those guys, even Austin, who is familiar with the system, he's 17 years old. This is his first spring practice. And so all those guys, Austin, Dylan, Ty, Jalen, each guy is improving. I thought we took a stride today. We've had some ups and downs, certainly as you would expect, installing a new scheme, a new offense. But those kids are great. I feel lucky to be their coach. I think anytime you have experience, it's valuable. All the players that have competed in these environments I think you grow from those experiences. And there's some carryover in scheme, right? There's some familiarity. There's zone plays and gap plays and man plays and perimeter plays, right? And so, when you're a veteran player, you've been exposed to some of those concepts. I think the communication, the way that you talk, the familiarity with people around you, the guys that are next to you, I think that's why each and every year is a new team. And you're building that camaraderie, that chemistry amongst the group. But certainly, if you have experience in this league and have played snaps in these environments, I think that's valuable for any player at any position.
Crimson Drive is driven by NASCAR, and there's nothing quite like Sweet Home Talladega. Don't miss out on NASCAR's return to Talladega Superspeedway on April 21st. This is more than just racing, it's Talladega. Purchase your tickets today at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. Crimson Drive, always sponsored by Visit Tuscaloosa as well. Visit Tuscaloosa, your go-to resource for all things Tuscaloosa. Check out their events calendar at visittuscaloosa.com. Well, here in Tuscaloosa, it's going to be very busy coming up for the Alabama Crimson Tide baseball team. Some other teams are far away from Tuscaloosa, but as we look at our weekend schedule, it's always presented by Wickles Pickles. They're wickedly delicious. We have the pickle chips with us on set, as well as the relish. You need those for your hot dogs at Sewell Thomas Stadium, starting later tonight as we take a look at our Wickles weekend schedule. Well, coming up on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, again, it's going to be busy on this Thursday because we not only have Alabama baseball at home against South Carolina coming up at 7 o'clock, and we will have a booth cam available presented by Country Financial right back here on all of our CTSN social media platforms. Softball is also playing a Thursday through Saturday series ahead of the Easter holiday coming up on Sunday, so best of luck to Murph and the softball team all weekend long in Lexington. Then men's basketball tonight. Our radio coverage will start at 7:30 from out in Los Angeles for Alabama in the Sweet 16 against North Carolina. Tip-off scheduled just after 8:30 p.m. Central. Friday and Saturday, again, the baseball and softball will continue. A night game coming up tomorrow, of course, for the Crimson Tide baseball team before both teams will round out action coming up on Saturday at 1. And then on Monday, we'll be back at Baumhauer's Victory Grill for Hey Coach, presented by Alpha Insurance from 6 to 7 p.m. here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms for not only booth cams presented by Country Financial, but more clips and more coverage of the Crimson Tide, especially from Los Angeles this weekend in the Sweet 16 and hopefully the Elite Eight. But that's what's coming up on our upcoming schedule presented by Wickles Pickles. And that's going to do it for this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge thanks to Chris Stewart for his time from LA to preview tonight's Sweet 16 game, as well as Riley Quick from the Alabama baseball team. Can't wait to see him on the mound and healthy in the future for the Crimson Tide. Special thanks to Ethan Carabin, our video producer. He put this entire show together. He'll be producing the booth cam that we have tonight, presented by Country Financial for Alabama baseball against South Carolina. But for everybody with the Alabama Athletics and the Crimson Tide Sports Network, this is Roger Hoover just saying thank you for watching this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by